So as soon as I get in the car and shut the door in the passenger seat, they rush the car and they're like trying to hit me through the window. And, I got a bunch of money on me and stuff like that. So, and then they start opening the door. So I just shot them. There was a lot of people being killed in the cells because at that time, a while before that, if you caused great bodily injury to a cellie or killed your cellie, they would just automatically keep you single cell forever. So there were guys, like, it didn't happen a lot, but it happened. Like, you'd move in with a guy and then he'd kill that person. So he could be single celled because you only go to the shoot for 3 years, 7 years, or whatever. But then you're single cell forever. And if you got life, that's what everybody wants to. So this kid, he gets in trouble for drunk driving and killed a couple of his friends or something like that. Something to that nature. And he winds up at a prison. Serious prison, and he was on orientation at the time in the building. So there's a white porter out there that's seen him get coffee from a black guy, and he's just a kid. He don't know better. But the problem is that when you go to reception, the older white boys or the white boys are going to tell you, hey, don't do this, don't do that. This is what you got to do. Do not do. They just run the rules down by you. Don't deal with the blacks. Don't get into debt, just be respectful and you'll be fine. He got coffee from a black dude. And when he came off orientation, they killed him. They stabbed him. First day there, coming off the bus, there was 2 Mexicans stabbing another Mexican right there on the basketball court. It went on for a couple minutes. Then the yard got put down, and then they came, California prison. When that happens, they put everybody down. They get the knife. They secure the incident wherever it happened, and then they strip everybody out 10 at a time and send you back to the building. That was the first, my first day on the yard there.
What was going through your head when you saw that arriving?
Well, it was a level 4. Again, I was young. I was told when I left Sentinella, like, hey, it's a whole different environment where you're going. Level 3s, they can be crazy, but they're not like level 4 prisons.
So I'm hugely honored to have Chris Curtis on the channel today. Many of you have heard the stories that have been told to us by prisoners that were in Corcoran, the Gladiator games, the insanity. It got reported in the press here in the UK. Chris, throughout his life, has served almost 30 years. He did a 20 stretch, the final one, California state prison system, county jail in LA. It's so brutal out there. I was in Arizona for 6 years. I got a little taste of it. So I understand, the gang structure and all that kind of stuff. But
Excuse me.
Chris has got way more detail, way more experience, and we're going to get to all that. So huge thank you for coming on first, man.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad you could have me.
All of Chris's links are in the description box. He's got his book out, Orange County, The Dark Side, Instagram, YouTube channel. Check out his work. Before we start, Chris, we're going to do your life story in the order that it happened. But have you got like a wild prison story you could tell off the bat, just to give the viewers a taste of what's to come?
Yeah, of course. So this story goes back to when I got to my first yard after coming from reception. On my first term, this was like 1995. The end of 1995, I landed on the yard at Sentinella, level 3 yard, in California, of course. And, the administration in the California Department of Corrections sometimes does some wild things with inmates. I'll give you an example. This is one example of what they do, whether it's on purpose, intentional, or by accident from them not, looking through people's files. I don't know. Who knows? But every once in a while it would happen where, so you have, a yard full of Southern Mexicans, white boys, with blacks, etc. And there'd be no Northern Mexicans on these yards, you know, and then all of a sudden, you know, 2 or 3 of them would show up to the yard. Now, whether the administration knew that they were doing this, you know, I don't know, or it was an accident, who knows? But, you know, it's on site for these northern Mexicans. They're not allowed on these yards. You know, if they haven't been on these yards before, if there's not a bunch of them on there, they're not allowed on these yards. So as soon as they come off orientation, you know, there's going to be an issue. So, you know, this is I was 24 years old at the time. This was like one of my big first, you know, incidents that I was able to witness. So I was in building 5 on A yard at Centinela, and there was a cell open, like 250, cell 250, which is all the way in the corner of the building. You know, I was downstairs like at 132 or 133 at the time with a guy named Mark Murray from Orange County, and he was my older homeboy. And so if you're in cell 250, you got one way to get down the stairs. You either go down the stairs or you jump up the tier. That's the only way you're getting down, because it's, you know, you're just stuck all the way in the corner of the building. So they put these 2 northern Mexicans in that cell. And I remember everybody was talking about it. You know, I was a kid. Everybody was talking, okay, yeah, it's going to happen as soon as the doors open. So, you know, we're all waiting for it, you know. And being a young kid, we're all excited. You know, I was anyways. But so they opened the doors, you know, and sure enough, you know, there was 2 Southern Mexicans in 249, cell 249. And they came out, and it was on. They were stabbing those northern Mexicans. And the tower was, you know, yelling for them to get down, shot the block gun one time, and they're still fighting. You know, you could just hear the commotion. You know, it's pretty loud when something like that happens. You could hear the commotion. And the cop yelled again, "Get down!" They didn't get down. And then you hear the officer in the tower rack the Mini 14. You know, like, get down, like, that's it. Once you hear that, that's it, you know. And they still didn't get down. And he fired a shot. And he shot the northern Mexican getting stabbed, one of the northern Mexicans getting stabbed. And, you know, that was, you know, me first going to prison, I was like, all right, well, this is it. I guess this is how it's going to be, you know. And the crazy part about that, so, you know, everybody's down at this point. Once they shoot that gun, most of the times everybody gets down. That's it, because nobody wants to get shot by that gun. Every so often somebody will keep going. It does, you know, but everybody got down. This is a level 3 yard. I'm surprised it even went this far. But anyway, so they bring when something happens to somebody on the yard, or somebody goes man down, they have like a little golf cart with a gurney on the back. You know, where, you know, guy driving in, like a medical guy drives in, you know, they'll put you on the gurney, strap you in, and, you know, get you out of there, take you to the central medical. Well, I guess during all the commotion, they forgot to strap the northern Mexican down to the gurney. So they take off out of the building, because you can go through the rotunda with the cart. They turn the corner, and the northern Mexican falls right off the cart, you know, going around the corner. That guy ended up dying, dude. I don't know if it was from falling and breaking his neck coming off the car. We don't know. You know, I just heard that the guy, you know, didn't make it, either from being shot or whatever the case was. But yeah, that was a pretty crazy incident right there.
So you were a young man, 24, but were you already battle hardened, or did that just blow your mind experiencing that?
Well, you know, like, I think I did an interview with a buddy of mine just like a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about how we respond to incidents like that. Because, you know, a lot of times we laugh, like, it's funny, you know, like, and then people think, oh, these guys are just heartless individuals. But he said something that really resonated with me. He said that, you know, we do that because we've seen this stuff all our lives, and it's like a defense mechanism. You know, we laugh it off, because if we don't laugh it off, we'll go crazy. You know, if we don't find a way to deal with it, you know, so we laugh at all this stuff like it's funny, but, you know, it's like a defense mechanism. But again, being a young kid, I was really I just came off the streets, and I was pretty crazy on the streets at that time. I did a lot of crazy things. I shot people. I can go on and on. And I've actually was in prison for that time for shooting 2 people. So I've had my run-ins with troubles. There's no doubt about it. But being a young kid and getting to prison and you hear all these stories, that definitely opened my eyes.
As you can tell from hearing that, Chris has been through some serious stuff. He's brilliant at telling his story. I watched him on the Connect. I just sat there mesmerized, riveted. Shout out to the Connect, doing great work. Check out his podcast over there as well. So let's go back, Chris, then, to what it was like for you growing up.
Growing up for me, I've told this story, so many times, but growing up for me, I had a really good life in the beginning. Some of the best memories I have as a kid was, I don't know what it's, I mean, I'm sure you guys have way more exciting things to adventure out there where you're at. But for us in Orange County, it was the sewer tunnels, where the drainage ditches. I remember, as a kid, we used to get our bikes and put flashlights on our bikes and drive down these sewer tunnels for miles. It was fun. I remember, having a really good life as a kid. My dad was a baseball coach. We had it good. We lived in a good part of Orange County. And then my parents lost the house. I was around 12 years old when this happened, and we ended up moving to another house, not too far away, but it was far enough to change schools. And from there, everything started to change. I didn't really know what was going on at the time. I was pretty young, but I remember, like I used to race bikes when I was a kid, and my dad would come home and say, "Oh no, I don't have time to go, on Friday night. I don't have time to go." And that started happening more and more. And then the next thing we weren't able to get new school clothes, and then it just kept getting worse, and then, not too long after we moved into that new house, my parents got divorced. My dad moved a little bit down the street, and then my mom moved in with my aunt. We lived there for a little bit, and then we ended up moving in with my dad. And this was like a month or two later. And when we moved in with my dad, he had a roommate. It was a 4-bedroom house off of Sacramento Street in the city of Orange. It was a little bit run down. It was, not like the other houses that we lived in. And he had a roommate, and then my uncle lived in another room, and then me and my brother, we had the back room, and then my dad, had the master bedroom with his new girlfriend. And again, I didn't really realize what was going on at the time, but there was people coming in and going out of the house all the time. It was pretty active. It wasn't like your normal family home, like, just your mom, your dad, and your brother. There was a lot of people coming and going all the time. And then like a month later, it was New Year's night. Me and my friend were sitting at the kitchen table listening to records on the record player. That's how long ago this was. I can't remember what we were listening to, but my dad comes walking out with a vial with some white stuff in it. And he sits down, and, we're just sitting there having fun. It's New Year's Eve. And he pours out some on a mirror, some of the white powder on a mirror, chops it up, makes 3 lines. He does one. And then he hands it to me and goes, "Here, son, try this." And it's my dad, I'm like, "Yeah, all right." So I do it. I give it to my friend. He does it. And then instantly I was high. It was pain. And from that point on, that's what was happening in my life, for the next couple of years, for sure. We quickly figured out there was a lot of white going in and on, leaving in and out of the house. And it was crazy, that's all we were doing, is just doing white. I'd get lines for doing the dishes. I'd get it for Christmas. I'd get it for my allowance for washing the car. And me and all my friends, that's what we did. You know, we smoked and did white as much as possible. And that put me on a really dark path. Being
How
a
did
young adult. Go ahead.
how did that affect your school?
Well, I just stopped doing schoolwork. I had a trouble with school anyways because I had ADHD. So I was constantly just, I couldn't sit still. I had a hard time really concentrating, but that sent me over the edge, and I just really, just became a terrible kid. I was constantly getting in trouble. I was just like an outcast. Me and my friends, we were just trouble. All we did, worried about was getting high and drinking. And that went on for a while, and not long after that, we were in a Saturday work study. So at the school I was at, if you get in trouble, you get a referral, they send you to the office, and they give you a Saturday detention. So, I had a Saturday detention for almost every Saturday for the whole school year because I was in so much trouble. It was just all the time I was in the office. So this one Saturday, we got kicked out of our Saturday work study for talking. I can't remember what happened, but we were talking. They kicked us out, and we were mad. And so they had the school cafeteria. So we thought, well, hey, let's go in there and get some donuts because there was a big, there's a bunch of food in there. And we were all high, so my buddy kicked in I don't know if you what it's like out there where you guys are at, but at our schools, we have like these little windows with cages where you get your food out of, kind of like a chow hall in a prison, same thing. But I was so small at the time that I was able to crawl. My buddy kicked the window out, and I was able to crawl through that hole and get in there and open the door for us all to go inside. And we stayed there for like 2 days. Like, we just destroyed the place. I threw the piano off the stage. I broke all the trophies they won throughout the years. Just destroyed it, and we would leave and then come back later, drink beer there or whatever. And we did that for all weekend long. And then on Monday when we showed up, there was a bunch of police cars there, obviously. And they pretty much knew it was us. And they arrested us and sent us to juvenile hall. And we got kicked out of the school. And that was my first time in trouble with the law. I was 13 years old.
What were the consequences of that?
The consequences were really probation for a year. And we had to pay back the money, which I don't think we ever did. But yeah, it was just probation. I was in juvenile hall overnight. I remember walking in. My dad came and got me, and the next day I come walking in. My dad's roommate was just sitting there. He was the guy that was selling all the dope out of the house, and gave me a dirty look, and they were pissed. They were mad not because I got in trouble, not because of what I did. They were mad because I could have brought the police to the house and got everybody in trouble there. And I think back now, and I just, I kind of just laugh about all that stuff. But yeah, that was my first time getting in trouble with the law.
So here in the UK, the gang structure is completely different from America, and we have a lot of viewers here in the UK. So could you just give like a little bit of a description of what the gang stuff was like going on at that age?
At that age, I wasn't really involved in all that. I mean, I kind of knew some guys from OVC because I went to Richland Continuation School. So I used to go over there to where they used to hang out in the corner over there. I used to drink with them.
What does that mean? For people in the UK, what does that mean, OVC?
OVC is Orange Barrio Cypress. It's a really old Mexican neighborhood in the city of Orange in Orange County. So I used to go over there and hang out with them after school or sometimes at night and drink because I was allowed to hang out and do whatever I wanted, pretty much as long as, I got home at night because, what was going on at my house. So I was running around everywhere, but there wasn't really too many gangs. The only gangs in the city of the Orange that time that I know of was El Medina, uh, Medina, and then OVC. But that was back in the 80s. I'm not sure, what's there now, but that was back in the 80s. But I didn't really get too involved in gangs until I moved to Anaheim, and that was in the 90s, like 89,
All right.
90.
All right. Keep going with your story then. So you're in the house with your dad. There's a lot of dealing going on. You're on the white. Did you graduate to anything stronger like the Christina, the Go Fast?
I did in the 90s. After I went to juvenile hall a couple more times, for one time for cashing stolen checks. Actually, my dad's house got raided. Like a little bit. Like a couple years into that, my dad's house got raided, and he ended up, moving down the street a little bit. We moved in with my mom for a little bit, but she couldn't afford to have us because my
Were
dad
you
didn't.
were you home when it got raided?
No, my mom actually got me out like a week before it happened, because she kind of heard what was going on, so she got a place. I was out of there when it happened, but yeah. But anyway, so my dad, went to jail. He did weekends. It was his first offense. He was actually, a blue collared worker. He was a brick mason. He worked. He had good work ethic, just not a other ethic. I guess we could say. But so he ended up moving down by Schaefer Park in the city of Orange, and at that time, his connection was his roommate. So he would come home from work, and I'd to go out with my friends. I just waiting to get my allowance from him, and he would ask me like, "Hey, can you go get me some white?" And I'm like, "Yeah, my friends are here. I got to go." And he would get all mad, and I would take off. But then he would, yell up by the, be standing on the stairs like, "Hey, you're on restriction. Get back in the house." Like he'd put me on restriction for something, and then he'd come in the room, like 5 minutes later. "Hey, can you go now?" I didn't realize that till I got older, that he was actually putting me on restriction for that. But that happened, dude. But and then after that, I dealt with that for a little while, and then I just ran away. I was probably like 16 at the time, and I went to my brother's house. He lived down the street in he had his own apartment. He's a little bit older than me, and it was the same thing. We were all just doing white, excuse me, whenever we could, and I ended up cashing stolen checks and got in trouble. Went to juvenile hall. I was about almost 17 at the time, and I ended up doing like 90 days in YGC for that. But after I got out of juvenile hall, my mom got a place in Anaheim, and then I moved to Anaheim, and that's where it all really began, right there.
So what happened in Anaheim?
So Anaheim is pretty much a gang infested part of Orange County. You got Disneyland right there and all that, but all the surrounding area, all the neighborhoods, is gangs. They got just a ton of Mexican gangs out there. At first, I was just doing like low level crimes, stealing cans or whatever to get go fast and do whatever we had to do. And then my mom kicked me out of the house. She just couldn't deal with the drugs anymore. I just wasn't listening. Couldn't keep a job, and then I ended up on the streets. And I met some people who worked for this drug connection, kind of like my dad's house when I was growing up. When my dad started cocaine, but a little bit more serious. This is street gangs were involved in this house, and from there, they took me in pretty much, and they schooled me. And I was running around with gangs at this time. I was running around with gangs, and they had guns, and that's when everything pretty much started. That's when the crimes really started.
So if all the gangs were Mexican or Hispanic, how did you fit in with that as a white person?
Well, pretty easily. There was white gangs too, but there was white boys and Mexicans running around together out there. Just from the we all run together in prison. I mean, there's a line to be drawn, but we're still, we're still able to run around together and do business. And that's what happened. And I ended up running around with these guys for a couple years. And in the beginning, I was just a drug addict. I wasn't tough. I was just a drug addict kid from the city of Orange, just doing drugs and just running the streets. But I quickly understood that, if you're going to want to make it on the streets and be running the streets or anywhere in that environment, you're going to have to be tough. And once I figured that out, that was, I was off and running. I remember a couple of times I got shot at. I remember one time we were in a neighborhood by the Anaheim police station, and we used to go to other neighborhoods to steal car stereos just because we were bored at night because we were all high, So we'd like, hey, let's go steal car stereos, let's go have some fun. One time we were walking down the street, it was me and my Mexican buddy, and this car pulled up. And, like in the movies, you see like Mexican gangs, they'll be like looking out the window of their car or whatever, like Mad Dog and you or whatever. And that's what they were doing, And my buddy tells me, he goes, hey, he said the guy's name, I can't remember, but he goes, hey, as soon as you get around the corner, run. Because if these guys catch you, they'll kill you. And I thought he was kidding. But as soon as he turned around the corner, he was gone. He started running. So I started running, and I hid behind a dumpster. And he jumped over a fence, and then I hear the guys coming, they jump over the fence. And as soon as they jumped over the fence, I took off and ran the other way, And I ran a little bit, and then now I'm on Harvard Boulevard, right across the street from Anaheim police station. And then here these guys come in the car, and they took a shot at me right in front of the police station and kept going. Like, yeah, I'll never forget that. And then I ended up getting back to the house that we were at. We laughed about it, but
slow down.
Yeah.
So what position were you in when the shot came by you?
I was just walking down the street, and I looked and seen him, and I seen a guy put the gun out the window, and I heard the shot. Whether he was trying to shoot me or whatever, I don't know, but he sure scared the hell out of me.
How does that feel? How does that feel in the moment?
It's just, you're all high. You're just kind of excited, a little tripped out, I could say.
Did you hear it? Did you hear it whiz by you?
Yeah. After that, I started carrying a gun. I was like, okay, I better get a gun too,
And was it easy to get a gun?
Yeah, I got a gun. And then, crime it's crazy, after doing several groups in prison and understanding, the lifestyle of addiction. It's a course I took in prison. You become addicted to crime. You become addicted to that lifestyle. It starts out low, just like anything else. You start out low. You start stealing cans. It gets easier. You start doing bigger stuff, finding a way to make more money, doing more serious crimes. The next thing you know, I'm not for everybody. Okay, not everybody went that route. But for me, I just took everything to the extreme. And then next thing you know, I'm carrying a gun. And then after I shot at somebody, and then that just gets easier.
Okay, let's stop. Let's go over those situations. Who was the first person you ended up shooting at?
Billy, this guy named Billy. I didn't shoot him, but I shot at him. So
what was the build up to that?
All right, so me and my buddy and his girlfriend, we rented a room at this house to sell drugs out of. And the first night that we're there, we had, I don't know, a couple pounds in the room, and we were weighing it out. And this girl came in and said, hey, this guy wants to buy some drugs. I'm like, all right, well, tell him to come in, He said, no, he doesn't want to. He wants you to go out there. So I'm like, all right. So I got my gun. I go out there, and I tell him to give me the money. This is like right by Disneyland. It's like 12 in the afternoon. And he's like, no, give me the dope. I said, no, man. I showed him my gun. I said, if I wanted your money, I'd just take it, So he throws the money on the seat. And I I look at it. It seems like it looks like it's all there. It's a big wad of cash. So I pick it up and I throw the drugs on the seat, and he just burns rubber. So in my mind, I'm like, what's going on here? So I just start shooting at him as he's taking off around the corner, you know, because is the money fake or what's going on here? I don't know. But that's how, you know, messed up my mind was at the time. It was like, that's just how I became. So I go back in the house and my buddy's like, dude, what are you doing? You know, because all this stuff was always happening with me. I was always doing crazy shit, you know, and I'm like, I don't know, dude, is the money fake or what's going on? I count the money. He looked, he goes, dude, he counted the money, it was $5 short, you know? So this dude, I didn't know. And then we ended up getting kicked out of there, you know? That girl's like, yeah, you guys can't be here. You got to get out of here, you know? But that was the first time that I could, you know, remember. That was the first one that I could remember.
What was the second one?
Well, the ones that, okay, so we'll just put it this way. I ended up shooting 2 people. I got caught for it. There was and it was partly because of this guy that I just shot at and some other stuff that was going on with that group of individuals in Anaheim. So what happened was me and my buddy that was in that house when I shot at Billy, we were on the phone. He ended up going to prison, so I was on the phone with him at a friend's house, and we were laughing about one of their friends that got in a high-speed chase in Anaheim and actually crashed and died, and we laughed about it because, you know, he wasn't our friend. We were just, you know, whatever. We just laughed about it, and this girl was there that was friends with all them, so she went and told all of her friends about, you know, we're laughing about the guy that got killed. So now all these people are calling my friends saying, hey, we're going to get Chris. You know, meaning they're coming after me, you know, and my friend Crystal told him, like, you know, you guys are pretty much, you know, if you do that, you're pretty much he's probably going to shoot you, you know? And sure enough, a couple months later, I went to this apartment with this girl and she had to drop something off, and I'm out there in the car, and there's a bunch of guys out there. And I don't know who they are, but, you know, I don't care. I always had my gun on me, so it didn't matter. You know, I'm just sitting in the car. And then they left, and then she told me to come up. She came on the balcony and said, hey, come up. So I go up there, and I'm sitting on the couch, and these guys come in the house, and they look at me, and then I realize who they are. It's all these guys that say they're going to, you know, get me. And they look at me, and I look at them, and then they take off. And I tell the girl, I said, hey, we got to get out of here. And then this older guy, it's all tatted back, so obviously been in prison, comes out and says, hey, these guys are going to be waiting for you out there. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm getting out of here because they can go get guns or more people or whatever. I'm just getting, my best chance for me is get out of there. Win or lose, I'm leaving. So we take off, and, you know, we're on like the second story, and at the bottom of the stairs, all these guys are waiting down there. So I just tell the girl, just walk in front of me and get in the car. They're not going to mess with you, you know? So we walk down the stairs, she goes, gets in the car, and I'm like looking at these guys. I got my hand in my pocket, and I'm looking at them like, what's up? And they don't even say anything. They're just like, they're not saying nothing. So I'm like, whatever. I just walk and get in the car. So as soon as I get in the car, shut the door in the passenger seat, they rush the car, and they're like trying to hit me through the window. And, you know, I got a bunch of money on me and stuff like that. So, you know, and then they start opening the door. So I just shot them. I started shooting at them. And the girl that I was with, she starts screaming. She thinks they're shooting at us. She stalls the car. I get out of the car, and there's only one guy there. He's crawling away, trying to get away, you know. And I turned him over, and I'm like, tell him, like, dude, you stupid fucker. Like, what's up, man? Like, you know what I mean? I was mad because, you know, like, I carry a gun. What are you going to come, you know? And I was done. I knew I was in trouble because there was people everywhere. And then I get in the car. I told the girl to get in the passenger seat, and we split, you know. And the police paged me like 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, the Anaheim Police Department's already paging me, want me to come turn myself in. And I knew I was in trouble at that point. There's no way of getting away with that. And from there, I went on the run.
So this podcast is brought to you with sponsor NordVPN. Not only is it super secure with NordVPN, but if you want to watch something, if you're in a foreign country, for example, I've got my podcast, my documentary coming out with Sammy the Bull in September 26th in America. If you're in the UK, you can't see it here. Use the VPN, NordVPN. It will get you in and you'll be able to watch it. As you can see, I've got my VPN on the United States presently. The most VPN providers are offering online threat protection, but when you look closely, it's just simple DNS filtering. NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro offers advanced digital protection from malware and online threats. If you're downloading a file and you're worried that something is attached to it, Threat Protection Pro checks it for malware. For a while, I couldn't click on any links. It was driving me mad. My channel got hacked when I clicked on a false sponsored ad link and I lost my channel for days. Well, you can rest easy. Threat Protection Pro blocks websites that are fake, malicious, or used for phishing, fraud, or scams. Gets rid of the pop-ups flooding your screen? Yep. It gives you a completely smooth browsing experience. NordVPN protects you from the various attacks: man-in-the-middle attack, phishing, password attacks, DDoS, malware, malvertising, ransomware, half of which I have suffered. No more, thanks to NordVPN. If you're watching this on YouTube, the link is in the description box below this video and the pinned comment. NordVPN are helping sponsor these podcasts, and you can get 4 months extra on a 2-year plan at my link, https nordvpn.com/Atwood. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. All right, so what was it like on the run?
So it was just a lot of just keep moving because they pretty much know the places where all the hangouts are, where people hang out. Of course, the clique of guys that that I shot these guys, I wasn't going to around any of their places, but they know, and people talk. So they were raiding houses. So I'd go to a house, 5 minutes later, I would leave and the cops would raid the house. And that went on for 2 months. I even went, so like, I remember going to see my daughter be born. And I thought for sure the cops were going to be there, but I wasn't going to miss it. My daughter Brooke. And I go to the hospital, and I show up there. And I remember thinking, yeah, they're going to be there waiting for me, but they weren't. But then I went to my girlfriend's house at the time, my daughter's mom's, and I went there to see my daughter, and then I left, and then the cops raided that house. I remember leaving the house too and seeing like cop cars and not really thinking anything of it. But then she called me and said, hey, they just jumped over the back fence and raided the house looking for you, And they said the craziest thing. My girlfriend told me the craziest thing. She goes, the cops asked me if you were going to shoot at them when they found you. And I just went, oh man, I thought about that for a second and went, because that once you do that and they're coming after you, it's easy for them to shoot you. They could pretty much, at that time, the cops can pretty much do what they want, But a couple months later, I was at a house just changing the chain on my motorcycle, my GSXR, and I had a really bad feeling. Like, I don't know, intuition, like, hey, I got to get out of here. And I take off and I come out of the driveway and there's unmarked cars coming from both directions. And that was the beginning of a high-speed chase on my motorcycle.
Take us through the chase.
Yeah, that lasted about 10 minutes, I think, through Anaheim, doing over like 110 miles an hour, flying through intersections. I ended up turning a corner, going down this residential street, and a crossing guard was coming out with the stop sign. And I kind of clipped him on the arm, and I lost control and crashed. And then I was going pretty fast. I slid, I don't know, 30 feet on my elbows. And then I got up and ran, jumped another fence, ended up on, I think, Lincoln Boulevard, and ran up a stairs and kicked a janitor's closet door, open, and just shut the door and just, I was done. I was bleeding, all messed up. I just lit a cigarette and just waited for him. Yeah. And I could hear him running around. I hear the helicopter up, and I hear the footsteps coming, and they kicked the door down. I had like 9 guns in my face. I already had my hands up though when we got the door. I knew they got me. Yeah, yeah,
Before we
crazy time.
proceed, further, how did you meet your girlfriend? And did she know the extent of what you were doing, how wild your lifestyle was?
Yeah, I met her through another friend. I was dropping off drugs, and we ended up hooking up, and we just ended up together. But yeah, she knew what I was doing. At one point, her parents, her parents, before the shooting, before the actual shooting happened, her parents were retiring. They lived in Anaheim, so they sold their house, or they were selling their house, but they bought a house in Lake Havasu by the river in Arizona, and they wanted us to go out there. The plan was for us to go out there for me to get a job, get cleaned up, and start a new life. But that didn't happen. I was going to the store one night, I remember, and I got lost because in California, you got streetlights everywhere. In Arizona, once it gets dark out there, you can't see nothing. I got lost. Like I left that light, and by the time I was coming back, it was dark, and I got lost. I didn't know where I was. So I walk up to this garage, right, with this guy in this garage, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm lost. I don't know where I'm at. Can you help me get home?" And then I could tell that he used drugs. I could see the way he was acting. I'm like, "Hey, you want to get high?" Because I brought a bunch with me. And next thing you know, I'm selling it out there now too. So I'm running back from California because it's way more expensive in Arizona than it is California. So now I'm selling out there too. And then I ended up, it didn't last long. I ended up back in California, and then the shooting happened. And then, from there,
So were
the
you in the
rest.
county jail?
Yeah. I went to
Was it
Orange
LA?
County. No,
Orange
Orange County.
County? What's
Orange
Orange
County.
County jail like?
Um, it's not as bad as LA, but it's the same thing. A lot of politics, filled with gangs. I wasn't there too long. I was only there like a couple months. Um, because when I went to court, you know, when I actually after the high speed chase, the investigator, the detective told me, he's like, dude, you should have just turned yourself in. These guys said they started everything. I didn't really understand what he was saying. I was like, turn myself in, dude. I'm getting life. I'm not like, you're crazy. I'm not turning myself in, like thinking in the back of my head, right? Well, then when I get to court, I understood what he was saying because they've dropped it down to aggravated assault with a firearm. So, with two counts of attempted murder, that's life in prison. For one count of attempted murder in California at that time, it was life, and you get life in prison. So I thought I was getting life in prison either way. That's why I was like, you're gonna have, I wouldn't turn myself anyways. But so I ended up getting 6 years, 85% for that, and that was like my first court hearing, and I was like, I signed for it, but I got 2 strikes with that. Do you know what that is? The 2 strikes, the strikes law in
Yeah.
California.
Yeah, but what they don't understand in the UK is you said, the county jail, it's the usual politics. Could you explain what that means for people here?
Well, so on the streets, it's pretty much you got your gangs out on the streets. Everybody's fighting each other. But then when you go in the county jail, that's squashed. But they'll put a green light on a neighborhood if they do a drive-by shooting at that time or whatever it is. There's green lights on the neighborhood. If you get in trouble or do something wrong, they put a green light on you. It's just the normal prison politics in California. Um, at that time, the blacks, they were segregated from anybody in the county jail because that's just the way it was. But LA County, it's not like that. But in Orange County, it was. But just your normal politics, just you got to follow the rules. You're going to listen to whoever does what. If somebody comes in, it's a sex offender or whatever, they're going to be dealt with. It's just a stepping stone to prison is all it is.
Yeah, they don't have all the racial gangs here in the UK. So is it the case that if all these street gangs, when they come into the jail, the street gang stuff is squashed and you all have to sit with your own race?
Well, for the whites are pretty much I'm just talking about like the Southern Mexicans. They're on the streets, they're all fighting each other. But it's just, there's a lot of personal issues that come in from the streets. Like, I'll give you an example. There were some people that were mad at me, these friends of theirs, because one guy got shot in the back and they were saying, oh, you shot him in the back. But the only reason he got shot in the back was because, he turned to run when he seen the gun. And once I shoot the gun, I can't pull the bullets back. You know what I mean? Once the gun goes off, there's no stopping it. So they were trying to say that I shot him in the back, and they were trying to send people over from other tanks or send word over to have me beat up, but it didn't happen. You know what I mean? But, there's issues that come in from the streets, like personal issues. People have problems. People trying to make names for themselves. It just can just go on and on. It's just your normal California prison politics.
So where did you go after county jail?
What's that?
Where did you go after county jail?
After the county jail, I went to North Kern State Prison. It's a reception center. So in California, once you get your time, you go to a reception center where you stay, anywhere from 60 to 90 days, even longer sometimes. At that time, everybody was staying around 90 to 120 days. And you go to the reception center and they go through your file, determine what level you're going to be, level 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on the seriousness of your crimes. And then they send you off to prison. And because, my crime was violent, I ended up on a level 3 yard, and that's where I went to Sentinella.
So is equivalent to medium security or high medium?
It's high security. No, it's high security.
High security. What was your first day like?
At the reception center or Sentinella?
Sentinella.
It was all right. Everybody was the homeboys, they were cool. They give you stuff when you get there, got a TV. And, it was better than the county jail, The way I looked at it, that's the most time I ever had gotten. I was thinking, yeah, I'm never going to get out of here. You think, 6 years, being young, that's a long time, But then again, I was lucky. I felt lucky that I didn't get life. The first building that I was in, I got in some trouble. So I was on the phone. I was on the telephone making a call to my family. And a couple of younger Southerners came up to me and said, hey, it's our phone time. You got to get off the phone. I'm like, no, it's not. They're like, yeah, it is. I'm like, no, it's not. Because I didn't have no tattoos. I was just a young kid. So they were trying to get over on me. And so I told them, I go, look, you get on the phone. If I'm going to go look on the phone list, and if my name's on the phone list, I come back here, you don't get off the phone, we're gonna have a problem. So I take off, I walk around the other side of the building, look at the phone list, my name's on it. I go back there, I told him to get off the phone. He's like, he just ignored me. So I took off on him, They shot the block gun, put the day room down, and took us to program office. And, they just kind of like, you guys okay? You sign a little, a get along chrono, they call it, and you go back to the building. So when I get back to the building, my cellie, he's an older guy. He just came from a level 4 prison, dropped down to level 3. He's like packing all his property. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, dude, you just started a riot right now. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you can't take off on other races like that. And I'm like, dude, what am I supposed to do? He's like, I'm not saying you're wrong, but now we're gonna have problems. So then, the Southern Mexicans, the shot callers, they were trying to get these guys to stab me. It was a big old ordeal. It went on for like a week. So I was kind of stressed out about that, but it all blew over. Luckily, I had a buddy there, one of the Mexican guys that I used to run the streets with. But I remember when I was telling you I was working for that connection, and he was like, hey, he talked to him and said, hey, this guy used to run with us, whatever happened, they were able to squash it. But it almost turned into a big deal. That was like my first month in prison.
What was the next situation you got into?
The next situation that I got into was I got in a fight over the weights in the weight pile. Some guy bumped into me and he didn't pop apologize. And again, I felt like, from what I heard about prison, you just can't let people do that to you. And so we ended up fighting right there. And then after that, my points went up so high because I already had high points. And after that, I was there for just a little bit longer. I seen that, what happened with that Northern Mexican when he got shot by the officer. And then I ended up getting sent to Corcoran State Prison. I went to level 4 after that. I was only there for like 8 months.
Yeah, and people in the UK, if people are watching this in the UK, The Guardian did an article about Corcoran Prison whereby they were doing gladiator fights. The death rate went so high. The guards had their own gang. The death rate went so high. The FBI came and investigated. People, they all call bullshit. Oh, this ain't true. Check it out. It's all over the internet. The media were reporting on this. So what was it like arriving at Corcoran?
My first day getting there, coming off the bus, I went to B Yard to orientation. And me, and I can't remember who it was. There was like 6 or 7 of us walking across the yard with our, in our jumpsuits. And on B Yard was all the Northern Mexicans were. So my first day there, coming off the bus, there was 2 Mexicans stabbing another Mexican right there on the basketball court. It went on for a couple minutes. Then the yard got put down, and then they came as, California prison. When that happens, they put everybody down. They get the knife. They secure the incident wherever it happened, and then they strip everybody out 10 at a time and send you back to the building. That was the first, my first day on the yard there.
What was going through your head when you saw that arriving?
Well, it was a level 4. Again, I was young. I was told when I left Sentinella, like, hey, it's a whole different environment where you're going. Level 3s, they can be crazy, but they're not like level 4 prisons.
Did you have a cellmate?
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
And what was he like, your first cellmate?
I can't really remember his name, but he's been around a long time. He was a tattoo dude. We were just in reception right there. But then from reception, I went to another building. And, it just so happened. So in California prison, people go to the hole or come out of the chute because the Corcoran chute is right there at Corcoran. So you get people coming out of the chute from there, and they come out with kites, like with lists of people that need to be dealt with or whatever. And I just happened to land in a cell with a guy that something happened and now he's got to be dealt with, So I'm on the yard and my homeboys come up to me and tell me, hey, your cellie, you gotta deal with your cellie. So I'm like, all right, man. I'm a young kid. I'm just trying to, I already got 2 strikes, so if I do anything serious and I can get struck out, I'm going to get a life sentence in prison. So, I just go in the cell and just beat the shit out of them. And I ended up getting a shoe out of that because I caused great bodily harm, and I ended up going to the Corcoran shoe.
How did you spend your time in the shoe?
Dude, it's different, bro. So the first day I get there, they're telling me, you gotta because you gotta go to committee. So you gotta tell the committee when you go there that you program with the blacks. So the reason why they do that is because they want you to go out with the blacks and fight. They want you to go out there with them and fight, just it's part of the politics. So I had to go out there, so that's where all that stuff was happening that they're talking about. I got there at the end of that when all that stuff stopped, but it still happened. But
what year was that?
That was like 96, the end of 96. Yeah, so they put you on the yard and you go out there and you got to like kneel down till everybody gets out there on the yard. If somebody stands up, then they'll put the yard down. They say it's like a PC move. But the thing is that, once you go out in the yard, the block gun's got to go off 3 times. So when you fight out there, if they don't hear the block gun 3 times, then you're going to be in trouble when you get back to the cell. You know what I mean? And then if you don't stop fighting after 3 times, then they pull the mini out, and somebody can get, shot.
So what was your first fight like?
It's, it was a lot of them, dude. It doesn't last that long. It only lasts a couple minutes because they're right there watching, Luckily, I didn't get hurt too bad.
So it was you against a bunch of dudes? Is that what happened?
Yeah, because it's all blacks. I'm the only white dude out there.
Oh my goodness. So you
And
just
they're
gotta do
trying
what
to, yeah, it's like kill or be killed, It's just one of the things, dude, it's like on the streets, bro. You want to win, but it luckily they didn't have knives. The blacks don't really use knives that much anyways. They're not like the white boys and the Mexicans.
How many times did you have to go through that?
That was just one time. I wasn't back there that long because it wasn't really a serious, offense, like an A1 offense. I ended up going to surgery because I had a cyst, and I ended up going to surgery, and I had to spend like a month in the hospital too. So I got lucky there. But I would hear them come to cells, like they would come around to cells like on yard day. When it's not your yard, it's not your yard. Your yard is like upper tier, lower tier, but they would come by to people's cell, like, hey, you're going to yard today. And like, well, you're not yard today. But yeah, you're going to yard today. And that would be when they would set up those fights. And they would send 2 people out there, and then the cops would be in the towers watching and betting on these fights. You don't see this stuff because you're in your cell, but they were killing people in them fights. They were like having people fight and then ended up shooting them because they wouldn't stop fighting.
Yep.
I can't say all the details on it, but I just know that a lot of that stuff happened back there. I know one thing: when I went on that yard for the first time, I could feel like it was like an uneasy feeling, like an evil presence on that yard. Yeah,
just for the benefit of the viewers, Joey Torres we had on, co-founder 18th Street, confirmed this. Michael Thompson. There was a guy called Rudy the Brute, the Booty Bandit. Was he active when you were there?
So him and I think CO Sanchez. So after I got out of the shoe, I went to A Yard, and I used to work with CO Sanchez in the main kitchen, and he was going to court for that during the time because of that, because they would put people in that dude's cell if they caused problems, because people. The last thing you want to do when you're in prison is piss off the COs. Like, the last thing you want to do is disrespect them or give them problems because they can make your life miserable. I learned that early on. It just doesn't end well. You got to pick and choose your battles, and you don't want to do that. But people would do it. People would disrespect them. Like, if you got a problem with the CO, talk to them about it. You could. But you start disrespecting, COs or disrespecting the female staff, and you're going to have issues, man. And they would do that. They would stick people in that dude's cell, allegedly.
And did you hear any crazy stories about what happened to those people?
Well, you hear, but like not much. But yeah, the dude raped them.
Yeah, because there's a court case that people can look up. I think one kid died.
Yeah, well, they beat them all. They beat them. The correctional officers, Sanchez, he beat the case. Whether it happened like they say he did too, you don't know. At that time, you just don't know. But there's a lot of stuff that went on in California prisons. But the way I look at it now is that, these correctional officers, they're trying to do their thing, and we're trying to do ours. We're trying to get away with whatever we can, sell whatever we can, make money, and they're trying to catch us. It's a game. And at the end of the day, they're going to respect you if you respect them. But if you give them problems, they're going to give you problems. And sadly, some COs are such, you know, jerks, you know, whatever their case be, they treat people messed up, but they ended up getting other COs hurt because of their actions. You know, it's just the way prison is, you know.
Were you aware at that age that the guards had formed their own gang at Corcoran?
It's called the Green Wall. So what would happen is they were pretty much in the back over there in the Corcoran shoe, but they would get, you know, if like I remember this is a story that I heard. So at Calipatria, a bunch of black inmates rushed the program office. You know what the program? So the program office is where all the cops hang out. That's like the administration. And they rushed the program office and took off on a bunch of cops. So when all these guys ended up in the shoe at Corcoran shoe, what the guards started doing was they started putting tape over their name tags. And when you got off the bus, they were just beating people up. You know, that's what I heard. I don't know if it's, you know, I've heard these stories. I wasn't there, so I don't know. But, you know, again, if you were caught up in that, you know, in that time, it was happening. It's a bunch different. It's a lot different now. But, you know, usually they just beat you down like all the time.
But as a young man in that intense environment, how is that shaping you psychologically at that age?
You know, after going through what I went through on the streets, you just think that's your life now. You know, you kind of adapt to it. You know, you go through the days, try to stay out of trouble and do what you have to do. You know, I'm not sure how, you know, it shaped me. I know that, you know, it was just you every day you just in your mind, you just do what you got to do to survive. You know, you don't know what's going to happen during the day. You don't know what if you're going to go to yard and that's going to be it. There's going to be a riot. You're going to get, you don't know, you know, so you wake up every day and just hope it's a good day. You know, work out, stay in shape, work, do whatever you got to do, and just do your thing.
Were you getting visits? Was your girlfriend sticking by you?
No, I didn't get visits. I got a visit from my uncle one time and my mom my whole 6 years, but the prisons are too far away in California.
How did it feel to see your mom in there?
It was cool, you know. The last time I'd seen her, you know, was right before I got in trouble. This was probably 5 years later when I got the visit into my 6-year term. I was a little bit more calmed down. You know, prison kind of mellowed me out a little bit. I, you know, was older now. I, you know, was under the impression that I wasn't ever going to come back if I made it out. But, you know, that didn't happen. You know, I ended up getting in trouble again, but, you know, it was good seeing her.
Did you have a post-release plan?
No. I mean, just get a job and not use drugs. My first term, they didn't have groups like they do now, like where you're able to like kind of learn about yourself and about, you know, all the things you need to succeed. I just did my time and waited for my day to get out. You know.
How old were you when you got out, and what year was it?
2002. I was 30 years old.
And where did you go to live?
From there, I went to my brother's. I got a job working for Miller Pipeline. I worked there for a couple months. I got a union job. I had a good job. And then I started hanging around with old friends again. And I started selling drugs. I wasn't using them, but I was selling them. And then that, you know, escalated fast. The next thing you know, I'm just selling like a pound every other day. And then I started using it. And then I just, you know, went on the run. So 3 months after I got out, I was on the run again. selling drugs, running around Orange County, Lake Havasu, Idaho, just running back and forth, selling drugs everywhere.
So it's like you got out, you had the job, you're selling it, but you wasn't using. What was it that triggered you to use again?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I just started using again. And then after that, for me, that was it. I got a gun immediately, and I was just off and running. I wasn't as crazy as I was before I went to prison the first time, but I had 2 strikes, and anything I did was a life sentence. And I thought I was going to be able to get away with it, because what happened was I gave the parole department a dirty test. So if you do that, it's an automatic year. So either way, I'm going to prison for a year. So I'm thinking, I'm not going to turn myself in. You're just going to have to come get me, and, when they did finally catch me, I had a Glock 45 and a bunch of meth on me, and got another high-speed chase.
Just going back to the dealing again, you're moving quite a lot of weight. Were you getting that on credit, or were you paying cash? How was it working?
I was paying cash. I was getting it from the Mexicans, and but I was selling a lot in Orange County, and then I would take off to Arizona, to Lake Havasu, and I would drop off a bunch out there, and then from there I'd take off to Idaho and go to my buddy's house and sell a bunch out there. And I was just kept going back and forth. I didn't stay in Orange County too long because the cops are looking for me there, so I try not to stay more than 24 hours. I just do what I have to do and get out of there. And one time I stayed a little bit too long, and the cops ended up finding me and surrounded me. And that's when I took off.
Yeah, we were doing a bit of that too. We were getting pounds out of Montebello and then bringing them back to Arizona. How did you deal with all the crazy tweaker customers?
Well, I was pretty much crazy like them for the most part. It's not really hard to deal with people when you got a gun all the time. Because they know, you got a reputation. They kind of know, like, okay, yeah, there's some people you mess with and some people you don't.
Was it cash only with you, or were you giving out on credit?
It depended who it was. Like, I knew certain people that were good for it, and I would give up an ounce, come back later to get the money. Sometimes I'd have to go back and get the money. But, I was making so much money at the time, it didn't matter. I would I don't know, it was crazy. It was, I made a lot of money, especially out in Idaho.
Were there any situations where people didn't pay you and thought they could, take
Yeah.
the piss?
Yeah, there was a couple situations like that. I just went with a couple of friends and just took everything they had. Yeah. It wasn't worthless, but yeah, that does happen.
Were you using an increasing amount as you're spiraling?
Well, yeah. So before I went to prison, I never shot up. I never shot up drugs, but when I got out, I started doing that. I was just sick of smoking it and snorting it. So, and it was crazy when you do that, because it's a different high. So in the morning, I would wake up in the morning before I did any drugs, and I would get a pencil, piece of paper, and make a list of what I had to do. Like, I got to go here. I got to go get this money. I got to do this. I got to do that. And then whatever happens after that, whatever. But I would do that, and then I'd do a shot of drugs, and then I'd be off, I would follow the list and do what I had to do, and then whatever happened after that, it was, I'd just go mess around. But yeah, it was kind of pretty funny if you think about it.
I used to eat.
What?
I used to eat it sometimes. Did you try eating it?
But that's the thing too. Like my buddy Cliff, right? That was back in the day. But every time I did that, dude, something would happen. Like every time he'd here, put in the thing, give it to me. But every time I did that, something crazy would happen. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's That's a whole different trip.
My best mate, yeah, it would last a long time if I ate it. But my best mate, Wildman, who was out there with me, he's dead now. He would just smoke it for weeks on end, stay awake for weeks on end. But he'd get so paranoid, he'd just go walking, and we wouldn't know where he was for days, and he'd come back. Did you get the paranoia?
Yeah. Did I? No, not so. I would sleep every night. I didn't like staying up. Like, I didn't like that. I would go to sleep every night. I had money, so I'd get a hotel. I'd be in a different hotel room every night. I'd go to sleep. I didn't like that feeling like that. So I would do what I had to do during the day, and at night I'd go to sleep. Sometimes I would have to stay up all night, but I didn't like doing that.
How did you
You know?
sleep right off the back of it? Were you taking Xanax or something?
No, I just once your body gets used to it. So I grew up on Ritalin as a kid, which is pharmaceutical meth. So I grew up on Ritalin. For me, it affects me differently than it does a lot of people. I don't know. That's the only way I could figure it. But I would sleep every night. Once you do it for like a couple weeks, you eat and sleep. It's just like normal. For me, anyways. I don't know what it's like for everybody else, but I was able to go to sleep every night.
Yeah.
I mean, if I didn't, if I had to stay up, I'd stay up, but I tried to sleep every night.
So what was the build up to the next high-speed car chase?
So I was in a hotel room and I was getting ready to go to Arizona, but I couldn't meet my connection. So I got stuck there for another day. And I actually didn't change hotel rooms. I stayed in the same one. And sure enough, I had, I don't know, a couple ounces of meth on me. I had to go drop off. So I got my gun. I take off downstairs. I get in the rent-a-car that I had. I should have grabbed my motorcycle, but I didn't. So I get in the rent-a-car and I come out of the driveway. It's on Harbor and Catella. I was staying, I can't remember the name of the place, but I'm driving up the street and there was a cop car like shining his light, like go around. And I thought something was going on. So he wanted me to go around. So I went around, drove into a gas station, and then unmarked cars just, surrounded me. But they left an opening, of course. And I have a Glock 45 on my lap and all this dope on me and 2 strikes, I'm out of here. I was just looking at them. I'm like looking at them, looking at me, and I'm just like, oh God. I just took off. And that was another high-speed chase.
So you floor it, what happens?
I just took off down Catella. I was careful not to try, be real careful not to hit anybody, because last time I hit the crossing guard, that was kind of a nightmare. But I just flew down the street and dumped the car by the Angel Stadium, jumped a brick wall and just started dumping meth in pools and jumping fences, and then, got rid of everything except the gun. And the helicopter was shining the light. The helicopter was already there. So I got on the brick wall and I was walking down the wall. And as soon as the light went off of me, I balanced the gun on a tree branch and jumped off the wall, jumped another fence. And there was a bunch of cops there and they got me.
Yeah. So how come you didn't get rid of the gun earlier? Wasn't that going to cause you more problems?
Well, because I was flying down the street, I didn't have time to think. I was only in the high-speed chase for like a minute. I didn't know the helicopter was already there. I should have known that the helicopter was already there because they already know I'm going to run because of last time, and they obviously were waiting for me. They already knew, hey, this guy's going to run. He's looking at live. He's going to run.
What were your charges this time?
Transportation for sales, 13 counts of possession of stolen property, a Glock 45, high-speed chase. Yeah.
Back to county jail?
I went to county jail. They offered me 107 years to life.
How does that feel?
It was a little bit, a little weird feeling. Yeah. I was like, fuck. I knew it though. I knew it. But I ended up getting 28 to life. At that time, though, in 2002, 28 to life, 7 to life, any life sentence is like life without, because they're not letting you out at board anyways. So it doesn't matter. No matter how many years you're getting, you're not getting out anyways.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
In 2002, they slapped that serious drug offender status on me, which carried 25 to life, and that kept me awake at nights.
Yeah. So you were out here, or are you talking about out there in England?
Arizona. I was in Arizona for
Arizona.
16,
Arizona's
17
terrible.
years.
Arizona's terrible, dude.
Sheriff Joe Arpaio's jail I was in when I was on remand for 26 months fighting my case.
Oh yeah, that's the guy with the pink jumpsuits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that guy.
How long were you on remand? Were you fighting your case?
I fought the case for like 8 months. I pled guilty to it though, trying to get the Romero Act. So the Romero Act states, if you plead guilty, they drop a strike and they give you 10 years. It's called the Romero Act. It's called striking a strike. And they had payo sheets. They had all the, people were telling on me. I was done. There was no way I could fight it. There was no way. And if I would have lost, I would have got 170 years, which it doesn't matter. 107 years, 70 years, doesn't matter. Still life without at that time. But, they didn't give me the Romero Act. But they said since I didn't take him all the way through the trial, spend all the money, he gave me 28 years to life.
Know what that means? Ooh, I've been hearing that a lot lately. That's what I hear when we make another sale on Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. Shopify is the commerce platform revolutionizing millions of businesses worldwide. Whether you're selling Pokemon cards or hoodies, Shopify simplifies selling online and in person so you can successfully grow your business. Covering all your sales channels from a shopfront ready POS system to its all-in-one e-commerce platform. Shopify even gets you selling across social media marketplaces like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Full of the industry-leading tools ready to ignite your growth, Shopify gives you complete control over your business and your brand without learning new skills in design or coding. And thanks to award-winning help and with an extensive business course library, Shopify is ready to support your success every step of the way. What's lovely about Shopify is that no matter how big you want to grow, Shopify will be there to empower you with the confidence and control to take your business to the next level. It's time to get serious about selling and get Shopify today. This is Possibility, powered by Shopify. Sign up for a £1 per month trial period at shopify.co.uk/Sean, SHAUN, all lowercase. Go to shopify.co.uk/Sean to take your business to the next level today. Shopify.co.uk/Sean. Link in description box if you're watching this on YouTube. Thanks for supporting our sponsor. Back to the podcast. Cheers.
But at that time, it's like, what are you going to do, dude? There's nothing you can do about it.
How do you resign yourself to that?
You kind of go through, a lot of thoughts go through your head, thinking you're never going to get out of prison. You know what I mean?
How old were you at that point?
30 years old.
So when you say 28, does that mean you can go to the board 28 in?
Yeah, after you get 28 years, you go to the board.
So you're thinking you're going to be almost 60 when you get out.
2031 was my board dates was supposed to be.
So you're in shock?
I had enhancements too or something, like I don't know. But my actual board date was 2031. So what happened was in 2017 they passed a law called Prop 57. And the law stated that if you're a non-violent three-striker and you have 15 years or more in, you're eligible to go to the Board of Prison Terms. And if you can be found suitable, no matter how much time you have left, you'll get out. And here I am.
Yeah, but you didn't know that at the time. Were you in shock?
No.
You wasn't in shock in the beginning? Like that,
yeah.
Thinking,
Yeah, dude. It's, you let your family down. I have a daughter out there. I told myself, I remember telling myself I'll never be like my dad, do what my dad did. I was worse. At least my dad was there there. I was never even there for my daughter, dude. I just was off and running, Yeah. It's terrible.
And that 8 months in the county jail, did you get in any situations?
No, it was.
Were you going to court every month?
Every couple months I went to court, or once a month you go to court. Just depends.
What's that like? Did they wake you up? And they woke us up like before midnight, and we didn't be in transport all day. And then for court the
Yeah,
next day, we'd be
same thing.
awake.
They get on the speaker and tell you in the morning before breakfast, "Hey, Curtis, you got court today." You already know. And then you leave out of the cell early most of the time, and you get a sack lunch, or they give you a tray and holding, and then you're gone all day, just like you said. It's transport all day. Sitting in the cage with a bunch of people all day, crying about I got 90 days. They don't know how they're gonna make it with their 90 days or 30 days, or my girlfriend's gonna leave me. Same shit up there probably where you're at.
Green bologna sandwiches.
Yeah, they give us peanut butter mostly.
Yeah, the peanut butter. I was living off peanut butter. It kept
What's
me.
that?
It kept me going. I was living off the peanut butter. That's what kept me going.
Yeah, peanut butter's good, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got. What was your sentencing like?
They they just tell you. I knew there was a chance that I could get to Romero Act, but they didn't do it. And, hey, you're 28 to life. We're sending you to state prison.
Is it automatic suicide watch if you get a life sentence?
No. I've heard of dudes though. I remember I heard about this one dude one time that he got a life sentence, went back to his cell, cut his wrist, and did push-ups till he bled out.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
So where were you assigned to next?
What prison?
Yep.
Yeah, I went to from there I went back to Chino State Prison, because they sent me there to do my violation when I first got busted. And then they said, "Hey, we're going to send you to Chino to do your violation, and then we're going to bring you back to court. We're going to build a case and bring you back to court." Well, they brought me back to court like 4 months after I was there. So I did my reception back at Chino, and Chino's fun though. Chino was fun back in the day.
What was
It was
the
a little
politics
crazy.
like?
It was just, it was just a little bit more open. It's just an old school prison. But the first day I got there, everybody's got knives, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to get off the blacks right now," and they were all talking about it, but it didn't happen. And so then we all go back to our cells, and then a kid upstairs, when they popped the door for chow, he stabbed a black guy, and then we were locked down for like a month after that. And I stayed on that yard for, I don't know, like 2 months, because they had me on the yard I wasn't supposed to be on with a life sentence. I actually could have ran. I could have jumped the fence and took off, but I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. And then they sent me back to Madrone. I stayed there for another month, and then I went to Salinas Valley, which is another level 4 prison.
Just to give a bit of background then for the people over here, you said it was on with the blacks again. Why is it always on with the blacks again? What's the background of all these race rivalries?
I wasn't there for the reason why, but this happens all the time. So supposedly there was a riot, between the whites and the blacks, and the whites lost. So of course some of the whites are going to be like, yeah, well, we got to do it again. We got to win. It's a reputation. It's a pride thing. And that's pretty much what this was about. You get certain guys that come to the yard and it's a pride thing. It just depends who's running the yard.
And in terms of numbers, where I was at, it was like the whites, the blacks, the Mexicans, and then the Chicanos. How was it racially divided where you were at?
Southern Mexicans, others, blacks, and the whites.
So who would count as others?
Asians, Indians, Native Americans. Indians, Native Americans, Asians.
And it
I want
sounds
to
like the
say, I can't remember. Yeah.
and were the Mexicans beefing with the blacks a lot as well?
Um, they would. It could happen. It just depends. It just takes one person to start it. One disrespect, one issue. But there's rules too. Like that's why in prison you're not allowed to deal with really other races. Like the whites are not allowed to deal with the blacks like business. The Southerns are the same way. And those rules are in place for a reason. So stuff like this doesn't happen, but it still doesn't stop disrespect or it still happens. People get caught all the time doing business with the blacks, and they get hurt.
Have you got stories of people getting hurt from breaking the rules?
Yeah, of course. I talked about it on the Connect, with that kid getting that coffee.
Yeah, run that down, please.
So this kid, he gets in trouble for drunk driving, killed a couple of his friends or something like that. Something to that nature. And he winds up at a prison, serious prison, and he was on orientation at the time in the building. So there's a white porter out there that's seen him get coffee from a black guy. And he's just a kid. He don't know better. But the problem is that when you go to reception, the older white boys or the white boys are going to tell you, hey, don't do this, don't do that. This is what you got to do. Do not do, they just run the rules down by you. Don't deal with the blacks. Don't get into debt. Just be respectful and you'll be fine. Well, he got coffee from a black dude. And when he came off orientation, they killed him. They stabbed him to death. And I tried to stop it because we were all talking about it on the yard before that, but that's one of those things, man, where and the problem that I had, because I'm older now, the problem that I have with that is that these same dudes that are starting all this because of him getting coffee from a black dude are buying drugs from these black dudes on the side. You know what I'm saying? Same, not all of them, but most of them are.
I saw the exact same thing. They're laying down all these rules on the new arrivals,
dude. It's just a bunch of baloney bullshit. And I wasted a lot of my life in there over this crap. But now, after learning, when I went to High Desert State Prison in 2015, I learned a lot about myself. How I ended up there was I got in trouble to get there, but I ended up in the hole. I was selling drugs at another prison, and I ended up in the hole, and I got sent back to level 3. I made it all the way down to level 2, not because I was good, because they changed the point system. And it dropped everybody a level, so I ended up on a level 2 yard, and I only lasted there, a year, a couple years, or whatever. But I went to the hole, and it was my daughter's birthday, and I woke up and I was like, I don't want to do this no more. Like, I don't want to die in prison, because at this time I'm dying in prison. I'm not getting out. I'm still not thinking I'm ever getting out. Even my board date's not till 2031. But I just didn't want to be that person no more. So I just made a decision. The next place I go, I'm gonna, because they started all these groups, all these self-help groups, and I made a decision to surround myself with people that are doing these groups and go into these groups and really do good. And I did. I learned a lot through all these groups, like Victims Impact, CGA, Houses of Healing, and I really learned a lot about myself. And what I learned was you can't, for instance, I blamed all my problems on my dad. My dad's a drug addict. I did drugs. I'm a drug addict. I'll never be anything because, my dad started me on drugs, and I just didn't want to take responsibility for my life. And once I realized that, I control my destiny at this point, if I take responsibility for my life, I can do anything I want. I got an AA degree. I got electrical vocation. I learned a lot about myself. I wrote a book. And, I changed my life, and by the grace of God, I was able to get another chance at life, and I'm grateful for that. It's amazing what you could do when you put all that energy of being a criminal into being a good citizen. You'd be amazed at the things you could do. I have a great life right now, a life that I never thought possible could happen for me. And I'm living it right now, and I still have these thoughts in my mind. I mean, I'm still, still the same person, but, I'm wiser, more compassionate. And I understand that, that's not how you're supposed to be living, and the last thing I would do is drugs, because I know if I use meth, I'm going to pick up a gun and I'm going to go to prison. And at my age now, why would I do that? Why would I, knowing that if I use meth, what's going to happen? Why would I do that? I wouldn't,
Yeah, good for you, man. Let's go back, though, and go over the prison years a bit more slowly. So your first year in on the big one, what was that like?
It's different. It's different when you have life. That's your home forever. That's the way you're thinking about it. You just go about your days. You work out, you wait for your packages, and whatever happens, you just be ready for it. There's really nothing else I could say about that. It's, you have to deal with it. You have to adapt to it. If you don't adapt to it, you're just going to be miserable. You have to move on. Just like life, life's not always going to be easy. It's just, it becomes your life. Once it becomes your life, that you have no way to, you got to deal with it. That's the only way I can say it.
Do you have to get a routine down quite fast?
Yeah. Just, I fell right back into my same routine. Now I just have a life sentence. You get up, you go to chow, you work out, you hang out with the homeboys, listen to all the drama. It was locked. Salinas Valley was locked down a lot. That prison, there was a lot of crap going on in that prison that I went to. Because of a riot with the blacks and the whites. Before I got there, there was a riot between the blacks and the whites. Well, some of the whites were not happy with the outcoming. They ended up on C yard. I was on B yard. So these guys on C yard were sending kites back to B yard saying, hey, you guys got to get off the blacks again. Well, these kites were going to the shot caller, but the shot caller wasn't telling nobody. This was going on for like months. Like there was words, okay, hey, we're supposed to do that, but this guy's saying no, or this is this, or this is that. So then what was happening is if something happened on B yard and a white went to the hole, they would kill him, or they would try to kill him. But actually, one, this dude named Dagwood, they killed him in the back. They killed him in the hole, and he had nothing to do with that's what I'm saying. Like the politics, it doesn't matter. People are calling shots. Taking lives for hearsay or for whatever, for what somebody said, for some issue that he had nothing to do with. Yeah, it's crazy.
So was that the AB that was coming down from?
Um, I couldn't tell you that for sure. The AB's not on the yard at this time. They're in the back. They're all in the shoe, like the Corcoran shoe in Pelican Bay. It could have, but I don't know. I can't speak on that. I know it was coming from Sea Yard. Now, whether they had contact from the back, I don't know. But I couldn't tell you. I know that also on Sea Yard. I wasn't on Sea Yard, but on Sea Yard, they've been fighting with the northern Mexicans over there for like 3 years. Every time the doors open. Over some, I can't even remember what happened. It was over something that happened between the whites and the northern Mexicans. So now every time the doors open up, the first 10 out or the first 4 cells out, they have to get off. And this went off. This went on for the whole time I was there, and it was going on before I got there. So they just stayed on lockdown the whole time on the lower yard. The upper yard was different. So you have the lower yard and the upper yard. They're split down the middle. On a 180 yard, you got 2 yards. But on the lower yard, lower, they just stayed on lockdown the whole time I was there. Every time they came out, you'd hear it over the thing. CR down, And it was over something, but either side wanted to give in. And that was coming from the back. That was coming from the Aryan Brotherhood and the Northern. They would not, they were not giving in. Either side wanted to give in, so they just kept going.
What happened to the shot caller that wasn't telling everybody?
I ended up leaving the yard. I don't know. I left the yard.
Where did you go next?
I went to A yard. But after I went to A yard, they closed B yard down and sent everybody to Kern Valley. So I'm pretty sure that he was in trouble. I can't say for sure, but everybody went to a new prison they opened up. It was Kern Valley with all 180 yards, which is pretty crazy. Especially a new yard opening up. It's crazy. I ended up there later, like 6 months later. I ended up there, but on C yard. I ended up on C yard, but yeah, there was just the politics and all the drama that went on these prison yards. I'm glad it's over with.
Was it a pain in the ass getting moved?
I hated it. Getting moved because you got to get rid of most of your stuff. You got to pack all your property. Then you got to redo your cell. Moving prisons was the worst. Every time you move prison, you got to find it. It just sucks.
What was the second prison you went to?
I went to Kern Valley.
What was that like?
That was crazy, dude. Kern Valley was nuts, bro. It was a brand new yard, brand new prison. We were the first people in the cell. Nobody's ever been in the cell before, so it's brand new. And the COs came from other prisons. Everybody was trying to mark their territory, including the COs. Like, no, we're not going to have, this place ain't going to be like the other places, And they were dragging people across the yard that wouldn't sell up with certain people. There was a lot of people being killed in the cells because at that time, a while before that, if you caused great bodily injury to a cellie or killed your cellie, they would just automatically keep you single cell forever. So there were guys, like, it didn't happen a lot, but it happened. Like, you'd move in with a guy and then he'd kill that person. So he could be single celled because you only go to the shoe for 3 years, 7 years, or whatever. But then you're single cell forever. And if you got life, that's what everybody wants to be in their own cell. So stuff like that happens, dude.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long were you there?
3 years. Yeah, I was there 3 years. I actually liked it. It was I like the cells, they're big cells. But then my points dropped down. I went to level 3. I went to Soledad after that. And that's where I wrote my book in Soledad.
What was the driving force behind that?
I just, kind of wanted to write it for my daughter so she could just hear it from my perspective about my life. And then I was going to try to get it published. But then I ended it, like that I was in prison doing life. So it really wasn't a story. It's about some scumbag who got in a lot of trouble, But then I got out, and my daughter, I mailed it to my daughter. So I got it from my daughter, and then I got it published. And then they had me rewrite the ending that, I'm out, I'm doing good. And then I waited for a while, and now I'm really starting to try to get it out there because I'm trying to help at-risk youth not make the same mistakes, So me and my buddy started, my buddy started it. It's called www.star2023.org. And it's a nonprofit. His part is for anti-recidivism. He wrote a book called the Encyclopedia of Self-Help. And then mine's the at-risk youth part. So what he's trying to do is get his books into prison, because every person that you can get to, not reoffend is one more less victim out there on the streets, and that's his goal. My goal is to open up a couple of vocations in Orange County, California, for kids to become electricians fully paid for. So like kids who drop out of school, or kids who are getting out of school that don't have money for college, to give them to be electricians, because it's good money. It's a good, and it's accepting to people like us, that career, so we're taking donations for that. $1, $5, anything will help, again, it's www.star2023.org. You could look it up. You can Google it. It's right there. We're trying to get funding for that. It's going to take a lot of funding to open up vocations, but again, we're doing everything we can to move that forward. Sales from my book, Orange County the Dark Side, which is on Amazon or Apple Books or all that, is a percentage of that is going to at-risk youth. I want to get the books into schools and then go to the schools and talk to kids. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to my buddy Chad Brewington. So he's the one that does these shirts. I can't really say the name on this channel because we're not allowed to, but it's www.wearenufkd.com. And what these shirts do is it's a charity, pretty much. He takes the money from these shirts and gets people into sober living homes, and he's doing good with that. So he's trying to get his message out there, and then that's about it, I'm just trying now that I got my life together. I'm just trying to give back and trying to get my story out there to let people know that no matter what you've done in your life or where you came from or how whatever happened to you, you could change your life. We all have had some kind of trauma that's happened to us. It might not have been the same trauma, but it's all affected us in the same way. And if I could change, if my friends that I have now, if we could all change, anybody can change, because we were pretty bad.
Chris, and viewers, all of Chris's links are in the description box if you watch this on YouTube, so please support what he's doing. Did your daughter visit you in prison, did you say?
What's that?
Did your daughter visit you in prison?
No, she was just young, she was in Arizona. So to get out to California, that was kind of tough. But I wrote to my daughter twice a week for the whole 26 years. I always wrote to my daughter. Surprisingly, she's not mad at me, but no, she's a great kid.
Did you have a lot of pen pals?
Here and there. My friend Michelle, she would always send me pictures of my daughter the whole time, which was nice. So I've always had pictures of my daughter, and she's a really good friend of mine. She's in the book. She kept her name the same. I changed every name in the book except Crystal, Michelle, that's it. And Crystal's mom. Everybody else, I changed their names, but I got pictures in the book of like then and now pictures of everybody. Like these are all pictures. Can you see?
Yep.
Then and now.
Wow.
It's in the book. It's pretty cool, but it's a great story. Again, I got shirts that Orange County the Dark Side shirts also. If people want those shirts, I can mail them to them. They're not. I don't have a website yet for it. It's just kind of new, but you can go on www.wearefunkd.com and you could buy these shirts. They have them for women, for everybody. But I really want to talk about the nonprofit again, though. I think it's really important that that people understand that the money going to this nonprofit is going right back into the nonprofit. And a dollar, anything will help us get to our goal. We're working on getting state funding right now, but just right now we're trying to get all our books into the prisons, into the schools, and to get our message out there, to hopefully create less victims in this world that's so messed up right now.
Chris, because you were so crazy during your school years, would you say that you caught up on your education while you were in prison, and that's how
Oh
you
yeah.
became a good writer?
Yeah, so I stopped doing school about 7th grade. And then when I got my first term, I got my GED. I passed my GED at, before I got out my first time. Then when I came back, I did electrical vocation. That's why I'm an electrician now. And then I just started writing a book. Like I didn't know how to do it, but I just started writing. And it took me about almost 3 years to write the book, but I learned a lot. And also it was kind of therapeutic for me to go through all this stuff and talk about it. And then after writing my book, I went to High Desert and I ended up going to school and got my AA degree and then a business entrepreneurship. But yeah, I got a lot of education in prison. Prison saved my life. There's no doubt about it.
So going from being so deep in the mix to studying and being sensible, how do you transition in that insanely intense environment where something's always popping off?
It's funny you say that. So my girlfriend tells me all the time, she's like, you don't seem like you're institutionalized. And I just think, as for me, I just adapt well to anything, I still watch everything. When I go places, I'm always watching stuff. Like I'm always looking, or who's this? What's going on here? I still think like that. But I can't explain it. I just adapted well. I'm still the same. Like I still have the crazy thoughts. I still like, but I've gave my life to Jesus Christ. And I'm just a different person. I'm a different person. I'm very grateful to be out, and I'm going to do everything I can to be successful, man. And prove all the people who thought I couldn't do it wrong.
When you was maturing in prison, though, were there people who were trying to drag you back into the mix?
No, I remember my cellie telling me one time, he's like, why are you doing all this stuff? We're never getting out of prison. No, why are you doing this? We're never getting, why are you doing? And I go, I said, I don't want to just sit in here and do nothing. I don't want to just sit in here and talk about people or just do nothing. It's a waste of time. Like, and then the back of my mind, I thought maybe one day, because they talked about the laws changing, that it could happen, but I just didn't want to, I would do all this stuff and I would send it to my daughter, to let her know that, even though I'm still in prison, it's important that you go to school and do what you got to do, and, I don't know. But no, nobody, or tried. You got people out there, that are just still in the mix, and they're just a nightmare, and they're a problem. But you stay away from people like that. You maneuver around all that nonsense.
How hard was it to quit drugs?
This last time, pretty easy. You know, um, I don't think about it at all. You know, it ruined my life. I guess there's, once you take responsibility for your life and you really understand that, because if you know that you use drugs, it's going to ruin your life. Why are you going to do it, man? After growing older, and you know it's going to ruin your life, why do it?
But what brought you to that realization after doing it for so long?
I just got sick of it. I just didn't want to be like that no more.
What age were you when that happened?
45?
And were you still incarcerated?
Yeah, it happened in 2015. I was incarcerated until 2022.
All right. So what led up to that decision?
When I got in trouble, I ended up in the hole for selling drugs at the last prison I was at. I just got caught up. So what was going on was like the epidemic, they had the opioid epidemic. You remember that?
Yeah.
Well, they had the same thing in prison. They were giving morphine and methadone out to inmates at medical for knee pain or whatever. They had me on methadone. And once they and then they decided they're just going to take everybody off this stuff. And I don't know if you've ever been on methadone before or heard about it, but I came off of that was terrible feeling I ever went through in my life. And I just went down a bad path. I had started using meth and selling meth at the prison I was at. I would walk around with an ounce of meth in me, go fast or whatever you want to say. I had it all the time. And it was like I was on the streets and I was shooting it up in the bathroom and selling it everywhere. And I ended up getting a lot of trouble because people started dropping kites and owed me money and started telling on me. And I ended up in the hole. I didn't get caught with it, luckily, because that would have been another case. But I ended up in the hole. And when I did, it was my daughter's birthday when I woke up. And I just told myself, I just don't want to do this no more. And, I prayed to God and started reading the Bible. And just when I went to high desert, I just did exactly what I said I was going to do. And I started going to all these groups and I just changed. I took responsibility for my life, man. I guess once you're done with it, you're done with it. But I think it goes back to a lot of people, they want to, I have a lot of trauma or you don't know what I've been through in life. That's why I use drugs or whatever. I've been through a lot of stuff too. Yeah. And I understand people that, have problems, and I get that. My problems may have not been like yours, but they affected me the same way they affected you. But there comes a time in your life, man, where you gotta take responsibility for your life, Everybody's different. I get that. But once I did that, and once I got on, my path, I haven't looked back. I'm making good money now. I work sometimes 7 days a week. I do side jobs all the time. I have it great. I'm getting married next year.
Oh man, congratulations.
I have a great life. I'm very grateful.
And it's great that your daughter inspired you so much as well. That's so heartwarming. So over the 20 years then, what was your highest and lowest moments?
I think one of the lowest moments was when my daughter's mom died. That was in 2007. For one, I was in prison. So now her mom's gone and then her dad's doing life in prison. And that really affected me. She got shot in the face. Domestic violence, with birdshot, it blinded her. She lived because it was a shotgun, like through a window of a car. And my daughter was there when it happened. She was young. But I remember, Michelle would write me and, send me pictures, but she couldn't see. And they had her on opiates for pain or whatever. And she ended up ODing and dying.
Oh,
But so then I remember that, and then my daughter's now doesn't have a mom or a dad, so she went to go live with her grandma. But luckily she turned out good, you know. But imagine what she went through because of me. This is all because of me. If you think about it, in the end, it's all because I wasn't there. Because I wanted to do drugs and sell drugs and run the streets.
And was it your daughter who told you that? What had happened?
No, actually, Michelle told me when I called. Yeah,
Can't imagine.
that was terrible. But,
and looking back, did you have any like high moments, like you felt like you were achieving a lot inside or something?
I don't know if I had any high moments, but I guess I was proud of myself for just moving forward. I can't really say, like, I mean, you're still doing life in prison, I could say that I'm proud of myself now. Like, for a while there, I was feeling like I couldn't get nowhere, but now it's like the possibilities are endless. I I make good money. And and I didn't, I remember spending time in prison, being in the cell thinking, dreaming of a day that, just daydreaming. God, it'd be nice to be out and have a job and have a girlfriend and have a life. And God, I'd do anything for that, just dreaming about it. And now here I am. Here I'm sitting at a computer in my girlfriend's office at our company doing an interview, talking about, just, it's crazy, dude. It's amazing that, what you put your mind to something, to your possibilities.
How many different
Go ahead.
How many different jobs did you do inside, and which was your preferred jobs?
I worked a lot of kitchen jobs, porter. But when I went to High Desert, since I had the electrical vocation, they put me in the boiler room, which was the maintenance. So I worked there for 5 years till I paroled. Did all the HVAC, did all the troubleshooting for the big industrial laundry machines, ran the boiler room, did all the air conditioning on top of the buildings. It was cool. It was a good job. I was the highest paid inmate in the prison.
What was that? How much were you getting?
$1 an hour.
Yeah, 50 cents was the top paid in Arizona back then. 50 cents an hour.
I was getting $1. Yeah, it was good, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, and then what was the least favorite job?
I don't know. I guess, I mean, that's all there is really kitchen, porter, yard crew, a maintenance job. That's it.
I hated the clipper room, doing the dish, putting all the trays in the fucking dishwashing
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, for somebody though, for somebody that doesn't have any money though, working in the kitchen is cool because you get to eat a lot, and then you can bring food back and sell it, and whatever. I think the worst job is a porter job, dude. I think the porter job would be the worst. I was a porter for a little bit. I don't like it. I like to go to work for 8 hours. Besides the kitchen, I go to work for 8 hours a day. I think prison disciplined me, for working out, because now I go to work. I get up at 2:30 every morning, 2:30 a.m. I go to work at 4, or I actually go to work at 3, start work at 4, get off at 12:30, go to the gym, work out for 40 minutes to an hour, go home, walk the dog. It's great, dude.
Did they take the weights out of the California state
Yeah, they
prison
did
system?
that when I was at old Corcoran. like
What was that?
97.
Because of weaponization and riots and stuff, or
They say immigrants were getting too big, or you know who took them too? It was Arnold Schwarzenegger. Out of all people, I think it was Arnold Schwarzenegger. Was it Arnold Schwarzenegger? Was it there? Yeah, it was that. It was that old Corcoran. Oh no, I don't know if it was Arnold Schwarzenegger. I can't remember, bro. I want to say. I don't know why I want to say that.
because we interviewed a guy, John Abbott, and he was in San Quentin back in the day, and Schwarzenegger came in and spoke to the prisoners.
What's that?
We interviewed a guy called John Abbott, and he was in San Quentin back in the day, and he said Arnold Schwarzenegger came in and spoke to the prisoners.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Back in the 1900s or what?
70s.
The 1900s.
Yeah.
1900s were only a few years ago, bro. I've been saying that ever since 2000 hit. Everything's the 1900s.
How did you see the California state prison system change over the decades?
Fuck, dude. There's been all sorts of changes. When I first started, it was CDC. Now it was CDCR. You know, California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, but the rehabilitation part didn't start till around 2013. But I've seen it change, dude. You know, the food used to be really good. Now it's all a bunch of junk. I just seen it change with groups, with college. It's just changed, dude. It's just changed. You know, it's just geared more towards now. Everybody has tablets in prison where they could email everybody, they could text you. That all happened as soon as I got out. As soon as I got out, they came with tablets where you could text your family and do all that stuff.
So did you see the commissary list change?
No, it's the same stuff.
Bunch of junk.
Yeah. Soups, refried beans,
Honey buns.
Yeah.
What was your hurriest moment, would you say?
What do you mean?
Like most dangerous moment for you inside? Was you ever under threat? Your life under threat?
I don't know. I can't even think of one. Like
so many. You had a lot.
The most dangerous moment.
In the middle of a riot or anything like that?
Yeah, I think the most dangerous for me that I could think of, the most thing that scared me the most was when I went out of the yard with all those blacks.
Yeah, it's quite intimidating if you're just on your own.
Yeah. Right. You got people this different.
So how many riot situations were you in?
Surprisingly, only a couple, dude. You know, I mean, the thing is that you're on these yards and it happens, but you're in the cells, you know, you're actually in the cell when a lot of this stuff happens. You know, you go like upper, lower tier, but, yeah, serious ones, a couple.
Did they come in and spray all you guys down and stuff?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they spray the whole freaking yard down. Again, they don't last that long, you know. I've heard of some pretty crazy ones, though. You know, I've heard of some pretty crazy ones.
What was the craziest one you heard?
Pelican Bay, I think.
What happened?
It just went off for a long time. They show it all the time on the internet. I see it. I wasn't there, but I heard those, you know.
Yeah, there was one where I was at, and we all got sprayed, and I had an old-timer cellmate, and he was like, wrap a wet towel around your head and just keep blinking to get all the chemical shit out.
Yeah.
Did you guys have to do stuff like that?
Yeah. I remember doing that. Spurt bath.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I've been on the yard when riots happened that weren't like involved, like, you know what I'm saying? But with the other races or whatever. But yeah, you know, it happens a lot.
Because they try and avoid that, don't they? Because they want the drugs business to be running smoothly. They don't want everything to be locked down.
Yeah. It just depends on what time of the month it is or what's going on. You know what I mean? That's like some prisons. Some prisons, like, I was surprised when I got to Salinas Valley that there were Northerners on the yard, and there wasn't that many of them. But C and D yard were obviously always slammed down, so that was the yard where everything ran through. It just depends on what they do, on who's running what.
What was the day of your release like?
Actually, I started writing about it a little bit. I started writing another book, but it's an exciting feeling, I remember getting on the bus and everybody had a phone. Everybody was just watching their phones. Like, nobody's like looking around anywhere. Everybody's just on the phone,
What year was it?
22.
22, yeah. And did you feel like technology had gone more advanced, too advanced for you?
I pick it up pretty fast though. I'm trying to learn how to make video, like short clips out of these interviews. But I have other people do it for me. But I'm working a lot. I'm an electrician, so I work and then I go to the gym and then I work on the weekends. So I'm figuring I maneuver my stuff away around it pretty good. But I want to be able to learn the technical side of most of this stuff, so I can make my own like short clip videos, because I'm starting to put all my content out on my, Instagram and my TikTok, and trying to figure all that stuff out. But I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I got out in 2007. I said to my mom, I'm just going to keep writing all my stuff down on a pad of paper with my big pen. And she's like, no, you need to get on Microsoft Word. I'm never going to get... It took me about a year before I got on Microsoft Word.
Yeah.
And what do you hope to achieve now then?
I hope to open up these vocations for these kids.
Yeah, good on you.
And and help Ronnie get all his books into the prisons, and start going to prisons and talk to people, just starting to give back, just start to give back and make amends for all the stuff I've done,
Have you done a prison talk yet?
We have gone to prison and talked yet?
Have you gone back into a prison and talked to the
No,
fellas?
not yet, but we're working on it right now.
It's a bit of a strange feeling the first time you do that, when you go back in, because you're having flashbacks and shit.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Walking in, because you're walking out,
Yeah, and they'll listen to you.
It'd be weird though. It'd be weird walking into a prison and being like,
because you hear all those sounds that you got used to, like the keys and the doors and all that stuff, and it's a bit weird at first.
I still smell smells like prison smells. You still get that? Certain smells?
I have certain habits. Like, someone was bleaching the floor the other day, and this woman, she says, "Oh, I love the smell of bleach." And I said, bleach and male sweat was what I was used to every single day. That's what, if I smell bleach, I go right back.
Yeah. When I walk into a hospital, it reminds me of Orange County Jail. It's got the same smell,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Smell.
Yeah.
What other habits do you have? I have I sleep with a beanie pulled over my face now, and like earplugs.
Still?
I have a fan going.
I like my fan on.
Yeah,
I like my fan on. I like my fan on. I don't know, dude. I can't really think, dude. But I guess
I'd go around the country, and if I was staying at a hotel, I would take my fan with me. And
Yeah.
my girlfriend said, you can just go on YouTube and put fan noise and just play it off your phone. So that's what I do now.
That?
Yeah, they got all kinds of fan noise, white noise, brown noise, everything.
That's funny, dude. I didn't know that.
every night now I listen to the noise on my phone
Yeah, I gotta have my phone, dude. I gotta have noise. I can't be,
because she
I
snores. It's
can't
like,
handle quietness when I'm
you got
trying
a
to
load of
sleep.
people. You got a load of people in your pod who are snorers, and you got to block it out. But
Yeah,
my girlfriend snores, so I got the fan noise on loud, the brown
yeah.
noise. Yeah, it's great.
That's funny, dude.
Yeah. What
That's
was
funny.
it like? What was your first meal when you got out?
Ah, I can't remember. I think I just got some hamburger from uh the Greyhound station or something.
Yeah.
I remember getting pizza though when I got to the transitional housing unit.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Is there anything you miss about prison?
Um, there's some friends that I miss, man. I probably won't see them for a long time. But other than that, no.
Because there's like a unique humor in there, isn't there, when you're going through these things?
There is, dude. People don't get it, you know?
I miss that.
Yeah. I got some guys that I work with that also my buddy, he did a life sentence too, and we work together sometimes. And it's funny because we talk about that. When we're working together, it's like we're right back in prison. Like we're working on
Yeah.
it, it's funny, dude. If you think about it, it's funny. Even at the job I'm at now, like I work with a bunch of kids, right? But I'm a clown. Like because you adopt this certain character, like this defense mechanism or whatever, and you clown around all the time.
Yeah.
So these dudes at work, I'm just a clown a lot. And we clown around a lot. And it's funny, dude, because these guys because all this material that I've had throughout the years of clowning around, they just laugh.
And
It's
did you have like a nickname in prison? They called me
no,
England.
no. You were
Yeah.
England in California?
England.
Yeah, all the guys from England are England. Yeah, all the guys from England got the nickname England. Hey, England. Yeah, that's funny, dude. They
And
do, man.
did you carry your workout discipline to this day with you?
Um, I think it's more. I think that's. I think that's how I coped with being in prison, dude. I worked out a lot. I worked out every day, dude. I had to work out. Even now, dude, I have to work out, bro.
It's great though, isn't it? It keeps your head fresh.
Dude, it's discipline, bro. Without
Yeah.
discipline, you don't have shit, dude.
Yeah.
Without discipline, you can have motivation and that ain't shit. But if you're not disciplined, like me and Bartos were talking about that this morning. I talked to him. He's a correctional officer that's retired. We were talking because now he's kind of like my weight trainer guy because he's a professional bodybuilder. So we've been talking. He's been helping me out because I lost 10 pounds. I got sick a couple weeks ago. Lost 10 pounds, dude. I was almost to
Wow.
195 pounds. And I'm trying to get to 200 pounds. And I benched 310 pounds like a month ago. I'm 53 years old, almost 53. So, but I want to get to 330 and then I'll stop. I want to hit 330 pounds and then I'll stop. But what I'm saying is that we were talking about that this morning, like and we did the same amount of time in prison. He started about the same time I did as being a CO. So, but working out, you got to be disciplined, bro. It's a different it says a lot about a person. I'm not saying that we're better because we work out. I'm not saying that. But somebody that consistently goes to the gym, it says something about that person.
All the guys I know who've succeeded after prison have done the gym a lot, or they've done martial arts a lot, or they've done boxing a lot, and that's kept them straight.
Yeah. I think it keeps me sane. If I don't work out, I start getting depressed. I start having bad thoughts. Like I have to take a week off every once in a while. After this last time, I'm not doing that again. I'm just going to keep going. But if I have to, yeah. There's nothing like going to the gym and working out and feeling healthy. I love it.
Yeah, they tried to give me therapy and meds and all that stuff, and I'm like, the gym's my therapy.
Yeah. That's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
What does your daughter think of your turnaround and all your accomplishments now?
Um, she hasn't said anything, but my mom and my family, they're proud of me. I mean, I guess they haven't said it, but I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're surprised. I'm sure most of them. I'm positive a lot of people thought that I could never change. You know, I'm pretty sure a lot of them are just waiting. They're just thinking, oh yeah, any day he's going to start using drugs again. You know, but that's fine. You know, the way I look at it, it's crazy because I don't know about for you, but for me, a lot of my friends that I've known through the years on the streets are more family to me than my family is. I mean, I could count them on one hand, but a lot of my family didn't write me when I was in prison, but my friends did. A few of them. You know what I'm saying?
You find out who your true friends are.
Yeah, you do, and you find out about that when you get out too. That's another thing. I learned that people really don't care, dude. Like, very few people really care about you, including your family. They really don't care. When it really comes down to it, the only person you have is yourself in life. You're the only person that, and I get it. That's fine. I'm cool with that. I figure I'm finally came to terms with that. That I get it. Okay, that's fine. You know what I mean? But now I people really don't care, dude. And that goes for the freaking whole country, dude. If you see what's going on, you see these guys, like, I don't know what's going on in your country. But here you got veterans walking down the streets talking to themselves. You got kids that are young kids sleeping on the streets. I can go on and on and on and on. But then you got other people that are being babied and taken care of. You got people that have retired that don't have much money, that have been paying, Social Security forever. And then it's just the countries are, it's, you have to look out for yourself, man, because nobody else is going to do it.
Yeah, it's the same here. The politicians put all the money in their own pockets, and you got people just homeless on the streets of London.
So is there a lot of riots going on over there right now?
Yeah, 3 little girls got stabbed to death at
Yeah.
I think it was like a Taylor Swift dance class thing, and a 17-year-old was the perpetrator. He was a Rwandan. His parents were from Rwanda, and there's just been a lot of friction with people in this country, and there's like riots happened because what happens was people were on one side of it were saying, you got to stop letting people in the country and this kind of thing. And then on the other side, counter protesters were showing up saying the opposite. And then they were trying to fight. And then the police were in the middle trying to stop it. And that went on for a couple of weeks. It's died down now. I went and filmed some of them. I was watching it, filming it. It was crazy.
Yeah, because I've been seeing some of it on TikTok, but it's pretty much over now.
Yeah, it's died down now. The police, they've been sending these guys to prison and giving them sentences, and it's crazy. They let the chomos out to make spaces to put the rioters in. It's crazy. But the politicians don't give a shit because half of them are chomos anyway.
Oh God. Well, better you said it than me.
Yeah, but going back to your mum, man, because you're on about your family. My mum and dad, they flew 5,000 miles. 5,000 miles from England to come and visit me nearly every year during the 6 years.
That's
and
awesome.
I felt I was blessed to have such good parents, but I felt bad. My mom had a nervous breakdown, and I put them through so much shit, when I was on the drug. The drug was just telling me, you're having fun, keep it going, all this. I wasn't thinking about my parents.
Yeah.
So
we don't think about much when we're doing that,
Your mom must have gone through a lot with you.
Oh, yeah. I put her through it, In the book, it talks about everything about, it goes into my life in detail. It's a great story, dude. It's a great comeback story, you know. Um, but yeah, like I said, we've all been through something. You know, we were all good kids at one point. Something happened, whatever it was, and we went the wrong direction, bro.
Yeah.
And becoming a good citizen is like growing up all over again. You know, an old timer told me that a long time ago. You know, and I definitely wish that when I got out the first time, that I made the decisions I'm making now. You know, yeah.
Chris, you're at this age now where you've learned those lessons, but what do you say to the young people now who think it's cool and glamorous to get in the mix?
I would just tell them that, the reason why they're doing this is because most of them, the reason why they're doing this is because they're not getting the love they need at home. So what they're doing is they're going out and they're finding it through these kids who they think care about them, but they don't. They don't have their best interests. You know, with social media now, it's tough for a kid. But I'll say this lifestyle ends badly. It's either death or prison. Every time. Nobody gets out of it. Nobody wins. Nobody wins. Everybody loses. Your family, everybody. You create victims along the way. Nobody wins. The country, the streets, nobody wins.
Yeah. You've been very generous with your time. We've been speaking for over 2 hours now. Is there anything you'd like to say to the viewers in conclusion who've spent this time with us?
Yeah, I would just like to say again that, my book's a great story and I appreciate all your support if you do buy it. I'm trying to get money up for kids for sports right now, get the books into schools. It's on Amazon, it's at Barnes and Nobles. You could buy the audio book off of Apple Books. And then also, the nonprofit, www.star2023.org. If you could donate $1, that would be great. You could just go on the site and click on there, donate $1, $5, whatever you could do. Every little bit's going to help right now. And I thank you for having me on too. I really had a good time.
Yeah, I'm going to get your audio book after this. I can't wait to hear the rest of the story, man. And I urge the people who've watched this tonight, go down and support Chris's work. He's doing phenomenal work, influencing the young people, wants to get into prisons, inspire the fellas. He's turned his life around. He's been through hell. So, yeah, please go down, support what he's doing. The links are down there. And if you're listening to it on the audio platforms, earlier on, he said the names of all the different links you can go on. And check out his channel as well. And check out the other podcasts he's done. Shout out to The Connect. That's where I found out about you and listened to your stuff. It was brilliant. And yeah, man, thanks for coming on. Much love and respect. Cheers.
Yep, thank you.
All right. If you're looking for a gift, my new book, Sit Downs with Gangsters, is available worldwide on Amazon. We've interviewed over 1,000 people now, and we selected 10 of the hardest hitting stories to go in this book. Each chapter features the story of one of our podcast guests. Those stories are Shane Taylor, Knife Maniac's Redemption; John Elite, Mafia Hitman for the Gambino crime family; Joey Barnett, 35 years in UK prison; Ian Blink MacDonald, £6 million bank robber; Chet Sandu, Asian smuggler in Spanish Supermax; John Lawson, the hit team commander; David Macmillan, international smuggler's Thai death row prison escape; John Abbott, San Quentin prison shootout and escape; Michael Francis, Colombo crime family capo portrayed in Goodfellas; and Wildman, English enforcer in Arizona prison. Link in description box on YouTube, available worldwide on Amazon. Also, my next book, Untouchable Jimmy Savile, is getting published in December 2023. So check that out as well. It will be available worldwide on Amazon. Thank you for listening. Cheers.